Because we tend to run out of light as we drive along out of this road, I'm going to start now. I'll pause to getting in the car. Let's Paul getting in the car. So
hello.
I've started. I just thought because we ran out of light when we hit the motorway, so let's start.
Good point.
It's freezing.
Oh my god! It's
Quite
so cold.
literally. We'll look at what the temperature is in a second. But we've just come out of seeing Encanto, the new. I'm assuming it's Disney, not Pixar, because it wasn't Pixar style.
It was just Disney.
Yeah,
It didn't come up with.
I didn't do the Pixar logo. Yeah, good point. Which I think is a delightful little film. I don't think it's going to be anyone's. It's not going to be a. It'll be somebody's favourite, but it's not going to be a classic. I think in the same way as it's not going to be a Frozen or a I don't know, Moana. It's probably more up there with like a Meet the Robinsons or something like that, I'd guess. Or I suppose for a lot of people, Bolt, even though Bolt is one of my absolute favourites, as everyone knows. The animation's superb. The colour palette is amazing. It's very funny, very amusing, very charming. It's great fun to watch. Good family film. I think the story is very simple and basic, but it works. So what did you think?
To be honest, I absolutely loved it. I am one of those people that's going to have it as one of my favourite Disney movies of all time. It's fairly well established for me that I don't like. Actually, no, that's harsh. I'm not as big a fan of traditional Disney as I am of Pixar, because I don't like the musical number aspect of a lot of Disney movies. Like, the songs are very generic show tuning for me. I absolutely loved the songs in this.
I was going to come on to the music actually, so I'll let you carry on.
Sort of film. I think we were kind of. If my voice gets weird, it's because I'm actually really cold and I'm waiting to like warm up at the moment.
It's 3 degrees. When will I see you?
A lot colder than 3 degrees. There was 3 degrees coming down here, and it didn't feel as cold as it does right now.
I'll be Sheila Ferguson.
Yes.
I just don't know the name of the other two. Anyway.
But yeah, so one of the things, because we were kind of obviously talking about this movie before we came out, and one of the things that sort of I was like really looking forward to was, again, it's part of that sort of Disney moving away from traditional sort of like Western, as in like, you know, cultural Western, as opposed to like, you know, cowboys type Westerns.
Well, I mean, for a long time they mined like the traditional fairy tales that
Yes.
Walt himself would have grown up on, or what have you. So your Brothers Grimm's, your Hans Christian Andersen's. So you're talking being very European based, and I think that's very reflective on when you go to the parks and the mainstay, you know, Cinderella's castle, Snow White's castle, Magic Kingdom, Fantasyland. It's got that sort of I don't know what period you'd call it, but that kind of European look, you know, that whole, you think of like Snow White, Pinocchio, those
Yes.
the buildings in that. So I think it's nice that, yeah, it's kind of, there seems to be spending time kind of going around the world a bit.
Yeah.
Because you've had this, you had Coco, you had Moana, which was South Islands and what have you. There was another one I was thinking of a minute ago, but it's completely gone out of my head. Anyway, there's another one, I'm sure. I'm trying to think what we've had. Oh, Luca, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Which again is, yes, Europe, because it's Italy, isn't it? But it's not that sort of mainland.
It basically, I think that's diving more into like sort of Italian folk, like proper Italian folklore.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the more, I suppose, popular / commercialised / widely known Brothers Grimm.
Yeah.
Sort of Germanic, you know, sort of proper Western European.
Yeah.
Almost Nordic sort of myths and legends.
But this is
I want to say Colombia.
Colombia. There was a. I was wondering. I knew it was sort of you know, that sort of Latin, South American kind of place.
Right.
But there was a point actually where Colombia was written on the side of the house.
Yes.
Which is what made me think maybe it's set in Colombia. And the characters are a hoot. But the songs, I just thought the songs were... I didn't know until the end, but once I knew it, I thought I should have spotted this. But Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think, is responsible for pretty much all of the songs.
Yes.
And the man's an absolute genius, and they're great. And what I also liked was it did do the very traditional, the song moves the story along, which is obviously what it should happen in every good musical.
Yes.
It shouldn't just be I'm stopping to sing about how I'm feeling, which has its place, but these actually mostly worked with the plot rather than against it. But at the end, I was just kind of having a little jig in my seat to the end credits because it was just so catchy.
There wasn't a song in this I didn't like, and I can never say that about.
Yeah, you're
Disney's.
not a musical person at all,
No.
so that's quite high praise. And the only downside is nothing to do with the film, but for the third visit to Cineworld Newport in a row, we had a technical problem. So the previous two films, there was a problem with the bulbs and the projection because it was just too dark.
June we walked out
of because we couldn't see it. And then what do we do? Internals was dark, and we kind of... I've just got to move my... Sorry, my hand is killing me. So we kind of made it through that, but it was too dark, and we compared it to the trailer afterwards, and we're like, yeah, the picture wasn't right. This time around, it was the sound. So generally, unless things have massively changed since I last worked in cinemas, I don't think it has. Behind the screen you've got a set of speakers, and that's generally where your voice track comes from. So your sound effects, your music, even your songs to a degree will come from speakers around the sides, and to the side behind the screen there'll be a couple of big speakers smack in the middle to make it sound like the voices when the characters talk come from where you're physically seeing the characters are. And we could hear everything okay, but the bass must have gone because it sounded like it was all coming through an old transistor radio, which for the main characters talking isn't ideal. I settled into it a bit, to be fair, but then it'd do something like the character would walk off to the left and the working speakers would pick it up, and all of a sudden their voice would have so much more depth and cadence.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the fuck's going on at Newport Cineworld at the moment. I know cinemas generally don't have technicians on site per se anymore. And don't have projectionists and what have you. Frankly, if 3 visits in a row we've had technical problems, they're going to have to sort that out, because best one in the world, the staff don't know enough, and you've not got enough, for donkey's years, 25, 30 years, you've not had ushers sat in screens, so you've not got people. I mean, they do screen checks, but you walk in, walk out, you might not notice it, especially if they came in when nobody was talking or coming during a song, you wouldn't pick up on it. So I think there's just a massive problem there that's clearly needs addressing industry wide. If we can see 3 films in 6 weeks and there'll be a technical issue with all of them because the best word in the world, the staff just aren't equipped. So I think it is time I actually properly... I said I would last time and just went, fuck it, couldn't be bothered. I think an email into Cineworld is absolutely required at this stage. But don't let that stop you going to see it where you are, because you won't be going to see it in Newport, and I'm sure it will be fine. But yeah, it's a really lovely, charming family film. It's not particularly sort of seasonal or festive, so don't feel you've got to wait and make it your Christmas movie. I'd say go now. There's no... I'm sure it'll pop up in Disney Plus in about 5 minutes, but I think there is... It's a nice enough film to make the trip for.
Yes.
It is, well, given what Soul and Luca we didn't see on the big screen because
we couldn't,
because it just didn't happen. So yeah, I would absolutely say this is a good, solid Disney all-round family, good entertainment that's worth catching on the big screen while you can.